Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're diving into the absolute best session highlights from Kulanima, Echoes of the Divine, Session 10. Okay, let's just get right into it, because wow, what started out as a very simple reconnaissance mission rapidly escalated into something completely unexpected. If you love a mix of tactical stealth, chaotic decisions, and just huge lore drops, you're gonna absolutely love this breakdown.
Seriously, I want you to keep this in the back of your mind as we go. How in the world does a standard stealth rescue turn into a full-blown biological warfare revelation? Because we saw a massive, almost whiplash-inducing shift in stakes here. The party went from simply trying to dodge a few squatting kobolds to uncovering a terrifying, magically engineered plague that changes the entire landscape of their adventure. Let's look at exactly how this all unfolded. Part 1. Discovering the Sealed Cave. So, picking up right from the end of Session 9, the party easily follows these kobold footprints east from that wheathead pictogram Heron carved into a tree, and those tracks lead them straight to a boarded-up mountain cave. When Jace peeks through the wooden planks, he sees a group of grotesque, heavily tumorous kobolds. The cave smelled unimaginably bad, but here's the darkly funny twist. He overhears them arguing about the most incredibly mundane hierarchy. They wanted to start cooking their food, but were terrified the cook would be mad if they started without him. It's this totally normal domestic dispute happening inside a den of diseased monsters, which somehow makes the whole scene feel oddly real and deeply unsettling.
Now, standing at a safe distance, Dmitri carefully assesses the situation. Playing the brilliant role of a cleric doing medicine before combat, he wisely concludes that whatever is causing those horrifying tumors is likely infectious via blood-to-blood contact. You combine that medical risk with Jace scouting deeper into the tunnels and finding heavy spider webs, well, the party sets a clear, indisputable rule. Priority, rescue, not combat. They immediately reject a risky frontal assault in enclosed, potentially spider-infested tunnels, and they smartly decide to search for a backdoor.
Part 2. A chaotic sheep rescue.
Tracking around the outside, they actually find a second way in, leading directly into the cave's waste disposal area. Gross, but it works. Inside, Heron quietly wakes a caged man named Joran, and after a failed attempt by Jace, Orin successfully pops the cage open. But as they try to sneak out, Joran accidentally startles some nearby caged sheep that were meant for kobold food, by the way. Their loud, sudden bleating echoes through the caves and instantly blows the party's cover. But Orin, absolute genius moment here. Instead of trying to fight the approaching kobolds, he fires a firebolt directly at the sheep's cage lock. The freed sheep bolt in every conceivable direction, creating exactly the frantic, loud chaos the party needed to escape the tunnels undetected. Talk about turning a massive problem into the perfect solution.
Part 3. The Gore Bag Ambush.
With their cover miraculously intact thanks to those panicking sheep, the party exits the cave and sets up right by the narrow entrance to briskly ambush any kobolds that follow them out. But before the swords clash, we really have to talk about the man they just rescued, Joran. The GM described him perfectly, quote, "Very dreamy, not a hero." He was incredibly grateful to be saved, sure, but he stayed way back during the ambush and was entirely, wonderfully useless in combat. The party didn't hold it against him at all, but it is easily the best NPC description of the session.
As the quick fight kicks off, we hit the absolute slapstick peak of the session. The very first kobold out of the cave chucks a deeply unpleasant gore bag straight at Dmitri, who was holding the line at the door. Splat! Dmitri takes the hit and is completely covered in it. It was basically a kobold warning shot, just a very gross one. But after that opening volley, the party swiftly and efficiently defeats all 6 of the emerging kobolds.
Part 4. Diagnosing the Weeping Pox.
As soon as the combat ends, though, the tone of the session shifts dramatically from comedic to deadly serious. Heron uses Shutar's divine magic to properly identify the grotesque condition affecting those kobolds, revealing it to be the Weeping Pox. And guys, this wasn't just an unfortunate natural illness. It is a magically created disease. Think about that for a second. Someone deliberately engineered this terrifying plague. This wasn't a tragic accident of nature. This was something made with violent intent.
Heron breaks down the grim reality of how this fluid-transmitted disease progresses through 3 brutal stages. Stage 1, absolutely no natural healing. You rely solely on magic to recover hit points. By Stage 2, those gross tumors develop, and the victim's infectiousness increases dramatically. And finally, Stage 3 is entirely incurable and fatal. It's a methodical, horrifying biological clock.
Actually, well, there might be one incredibly risky loophole. Aaron recalls a fascinating piece of world lore. If a victim reaches the advanced tumor stage, like right before that fatal stage 3 threshold, those tumors can actually be carefully surgically removed to create a magical item called a Periept of Health. It's an insanely dangerous, narrow window to attempt this, but it presents a unique opportunity if things get really dire.
But here is the immediate, grim reality of that diagnosis. Exactly 2 members of our group, Dmitri, who took that gross gore bag to the face, and our dreamy rescued friend Joran, were confirmed to have already contracted stage 1 of the weeping pox during the fight. They cannot heal naturally. They are infectious. The clock is now officially ticking for our heroes.
Part 5. The Weaponized Carrier Threat.
This leads us right to the most alarming and consequential revelation of the entire session. The initial assumption from the outside was that the kobolds were just sick, right? Unfortunate victims of a terrible plague. But the chilling reality, Heron realizes the kobolds were showing absolutely no symptoms of illness themselves. They weren't dying from it. They were intentional, weaponized carriers. Someone didn't just engineer a disease. They deliberately turned these creatures into walking vectors to spread organized biological warfare. If left unchecked, this deliberate weapon could easily decimate entire populations across the campaign world. Let that sink in.
Part 6. Lingering Questions and Next Steps.
Faced with this horrifying truth, the party makes a resolute, if somewhat ominous, decision. They simply cannot walk away and let this spread. They're going right back inside that cave to purge the remaining kobolds, stop the infection, and investigate if this biological weapons facility is exactly why this location was marked on Futum Aus's map. But this leaves them juggling a massive amount of open threads. They're asking, who engineered the pox? Is it directly tied to Futum Aus? What in the world is past those heavy spider webs deeper in the tunnels? Can Dmitri and Joran be cured before stage 2 hits? Who exactly is this dreamy Joran, and how did he end up in that cage? And critically, if it comes down to the wire, who actually possesses the knowledge to perform the Periept of Health process?
So we are left with this massive, looming question. Who created this magical plague? And what horrifying secrets await the party when they march back into those spider-infested depths? With 2 infected allies and a literal ticking clock on their health, Session 11 is guaranteed to be incredibly intense. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope this breakdown helped you grasp the incredible depth of the session's highlights. Keep learning, stay curious, and I'll catch you next time.